Hi, welcome to another episode of the Thinking Christian Talk Show, Transcend, where we are unlocking truth and we are transcending lives. This week, I am elated, I am excited because I have my spiritual parents, my mom, my dad, Bishop and Lady Smith. Oh my God, I'm so excited, Mom, Dad. I'm going to try to be formal and say Bishop Smith, Lady Smith. So we want to jump into the topic this afternoon on Anointed Preachers, Lonely Wives. So stay tuned. We're just going to take a quick break and we come back and we dive straight into it.
Sunday, May 14th is Mother's Day. And the Transcend Christian Talk Show wants to celebrate your mom. So, as you share your gift of love and shower mom with your hugs and kisses, tell us about the time she encouraged you, worked hard for you, and had fun with you. Have your mom featured on our show by sharing a fun video of her or you expressing your appreciation for her. You can do this by completing the form available on our socials. The link is also in the description box. We prefer your videos to be 30 seconds long, but no longer than 60 seconds. Videos should be well lit with clear audio, but no background music, please. Submit your form by Tuesday, May 9th. Happy Mother's Day, Mommy, from the Thinking Christian Talk Show. Like, share, subscribe, transcend.
So, Bishop, Lady Smith, Mom, Dad. Alright, so we want to jump straight into it and, we want to find out how long you have been saved, respectively. How long you would have, given your life to the Lord and all of that. Let's start with you, Bishop, and then we'll move on to Lady Smith.
Well, Minister Brown, my son, it's really wonderful being here. I'm excited about this, and I'm look forward to sharing with you. Now, for me, I started as a young little boy in 1976. So I've been saved about 47 years now. I've been walking with the Lord. It's been an incredible journey. I just love Jesus. I love worshiping, I love serving Him. And so over those 47 years, I've had my ups and my downs, the hills and the valleys, but I'm still here.
Still here. Still standing.
Still standing, sir, after all of this.
Amen. So, Lady Smith, how long you have been saved?
I gave my life to the Lord when I was 11 years old. 11 years old, so I am up the hill, over the hill, and so forth. So it's been a long time but I was convicted and wanted to give my life to the Lord earlier.
Yeah.
But my mom said, give it a little time, because I was around 9 years old when I was really convicted to serve the Lord. But I gave it a little time, and at 11 I was baptized.
Yeah. So tell us about your journey in becoming Bishop Smith and First Lady Smith. Just briefly tell us, how did you transition from a regular church member to becoming the people that you are today, the people that are widely known in the Toronto area?
So for me, Minister Brown, my journey started in Jamaica. That's where I started. I came to Canada in 1984. And then from Canada, I moved to the United States.
That's before I was born.
Right? And I was almost 20 years old at that time. Moved to the United States, then back to Canada. Got married in 1989, was in the church. I always loved serving, worshiping. And so I was youth president at the Mount Zion Apostolic Church, served as youth president, and later on, I became a minister. So I was appointed a minister and I was serving there. But then in 1999, after a whole lot of incidents and transitions, I mean, I can't go into all those details, it would take all day.
Yeah.
It was at that time I hear the call of God for pastoring. I actually was at the time was in transition where I wasn't going to church. I kind of was disappointed in church.
What?
Yes,
Bishop
sir.
Smith, the Bishop Smith wasn't going to church.
Yes, sir. The Bishop Smith got so disappointed in church that in October 1999, I said, I'm not going to any more church. I'm done. I'm staying home and serving. I mean, I wasn't going back into the world,
Yeah.
but I just wasn't going back to church. I was done with church. And it was there I got the call of the Lord. I was in Bridgeport, Connecticut,
Yeah.
when the Lord spoke to me and said, Kingdom Life Ministries, behold, I do a new thing in you, said the Lord. And I wrote that down. You know, I came back and, you know, through a process of revelation where God sent a minister.
Yes.
One night at about 1:30 in the morning, my wife and I were in bed, and he came and rang the doorbell, said the Lord sent him to pray. He came and he prayed and prophesied a pastoral anointing upon me. Another evangelist came and anointed my feet, or anointed to lead. And that was how the ministry started. I basically said, Lord, if it's you, I said, send people to this prayer meeting.
It's you
Lord.
bid me to come.
Yes, so my wife and I and the 3 children were having a little prayer meeting in our house, and the Lord starts sending people to the prayer meeting. I mean, you can pick up on it. But she was there the whole journey. That's how I became pastoring.
Yeah. So, Lady Smith, you are well known, one of the most gracious, if I do say so myself, first ladies in all of the Christian community.
I co-sign
will
that.
say.
I co-sign that.
But how do people see the finished product?
Yeah.
What was your journey like becoming the Lady Kareen Smith?
Okay, so I'm going to pick up where Bishop left off, and there are little things that he didn't say. There's so much to say about our journey. Like, it is just an unbelievable journey. He made mention about those who came to the house, but in May 2000, we went to a conference in Philadelphia, and the conference was called Praise Power, and we were still very broken. As you said, Bishop made mention that he wasn't going to church for a while, but in that small window, I was taking the children to church.
Oh, so you were still going to church?
All 3 of them, I took them to different places because he needed that time alone, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I needed to get out with them because my oldest daughter, Candace, was now missing her friends, and it was just, transition was just hard for the entire family. So that's what I did. We went out. But in May 2000, we went to this conference, and my husband went to a session with T.D. Jakes and Mark Hamby.
Yeah.
And these are powerful, dynamic people. So he was going to get a lot of download from them. And I just was so broken. I said, okay, let me see what I can find on this program that's going to help me. And I saw this topic that says prophetic destiny, and it was being taught by Bishop Tudor Bismarck. So I said, okay, I just need some help, right? I feel so broken. So I went to this session, and he was just speaking about destiny and what God has for you, and speaking it into the atmosphere. And when destiny connects with word and purpose and all that's going to happen, I went for prayer, hoping to be slain. Honestly, I wanted to be slain. I wanted all this pain that was in me to come out. You know, I wanted to be sheeted.
Yeah.
It didn't happen in this room of about 500 people, and it didn't happen. So he says, as everyone comes, he's just going to touch you. You go through, and you get it. I went through. But then my husband, now broken from where he was, came to find me because he knew where I was, and he joined the line. And in that joining of the line, the Lord spoke to him there and told him about where the Lord has brought him from, that he was transplanted. He wasn't kicked out. He was just being placed at a different place. He talked about his anointing, the 5-fold ministry that's on him, that God was going to give him governmental authority over the country of Canada, which we have no idea how this gentleman knew that we were from Canada. There was no sign. We weren't carrying no flags.
What?
And
You did not tell him that you're from
nothing.
Canada?
And
Wow.
he went in, and 15 years to that prophetic date, my husband became the Bishop of Canada. So talking about prophetic destiny coming together. And the thing I love about God is that he knew of myself. I'm not interested in being out there, the pumping circumstance. So for each prophetic moment, except maybe 1 or 2, but those he brought me and he entwined me in there so that I can see for myself, that I can feel for myself, that I can experience for myself that he called us.
But this is an exciting point though, Lady Smith and Bishop Smith, because in being a part of your ministry, serving under your leadership, there's so many people that will say, oh my God, Bishop and Lady Smith, they have a heart for ministry, they have a heart for people, they have a caring heart, a loving heart for their congregants. And you're now telling our audience that you did not even envision becoming Pastor and Lady Smith?
I didn't want it. I did not want to do it. I mean, when God called me, and again we're backing up a little bit, and even with those prophetic utterances, I said, no, I'm not doing it. When I went to this conference, I was broken. And when I left TD Jake's session, I left with the intention, I'm done, I quit. I'm giving this up because I can't do it anymore. And so when I came to her session in Prophetic Destiny, that's when I came for prayer because I was broken.
Yes.
And Bishop Tudor Bismarck, I mean, exactly what I said, God has transplanted you from where you were to where you are now. Your ministry is going to grow quickly. It's going to mushroom. He said, you shall train leaders in your city. God has given you governmental authority over the country of Canada. So we were fighting. We didn't want to do it. But as my wife said, she had to be there.
Yeah.
Because if she wasn't there, she wouldn't realize that this is not just Barrington wanting to be a pastor. This is God's divine destiny, not just for you, not just for me, but also for her. So we had to walk in the destiny.
Yes, because she too, she has a role.
And and when I got before Bishop Bismarck, I didn't know where she was. So, I mean, you remember, I just came up to the line. I just needed prayer. I knew she was there, but I didn't know where she was.
I had already gone.
She would have gone through the line.
Not cheated.
So I came, and then he said to me, are you married?
Yes.
I said, yes. He said, what's your name? I said, Smith. He said, Sister Smith,
Yes.
Sister Smith.
No, stop the madness.
That's right.
He called for Lady Smith.
Yes, he did.
Wow.
So she didn't even recognize I was there.
Yeah, I had no idea where he was until I was called on the outside of the conference hall to come back in. So I passed all of these hundreds of people, went back in to find him standing in front of the bishop.
Because she was already gone. And somebody told her, your husband is up there, they're calling for you.
Yes.
So it was all God's plan. Because he could have just prayed for me.
Yeah.
That's right.
And she wouldn't have heard a word of what he said to me.
Right.
But what God was doing, God wanted to make sure that we were both in sync and that we both understand the assignment.
Yes.
We both understand the call of God. So this call is not just about me. We are a team. We're a unit.
That's
right? He didn't call me and left her out. When the minister came that night, both of us standing there and he's praying for both of us. When that evangelist came, it was both of us. And my wife watched when she was anointing my feet and said, you're anointed to lead. So I'm not making anything up. She was right there to witness it so that every word I say is just to say, yes, I was there, I saw it, God did it.
So tell us now, First Lady, at what point in time in the ministry you and Bishop started to have children?
we had children before the ministry. So when the ministry started, Candace was 4. Was 4, going to be 5. Sharice was 2, and Dylan was 1. So in fact, I had 2 babies, and so on a Sunday morning, I would have one on one side of my legs, and the other on the other side, 2 of them like this, and then Candace would be beside me. So that's how it was.
So you have 3 biological kids.
3.
Okay. And I have to state that in there, biological kids.
We have 3.
Hundreds of biological.
Yes, I'm numbered amongst them. But how was the transition from not having children to having children in ministry?
When we talk about ministry, I was already in ministry before we had children, right? And even when we only had 1 child.
Yes.
And so I used to do things like prison ministry. And I remember my wife would be left with the Candice and sometimes with the other ones while I'm gone all day on prison ministry.
When I was pregnant, he left me. I went on prison ministry and set me up with a nurse, packed my lunch and said, okay, you're going here and you're going to stay here until I come back.
So you see what happened is that ministry was important, but my family was comes
Equally.
Yeah,
Yes.
equally.
Yeah.
Or if you don't take care of your house,
Yeah.
you can't take care of God's people. And so
Correct.
even though I knew I had to go, I made sure, as big pregnant she was, I had a nurse who would be more capable than I am if anything happens,
Right.
and make sure she's set and we go on prison ministry.
Right.
So even before pastoring, I understood the importance of my family being safe. At the time when it was just my wife, that my wife being safe, and when we had the children, that the children are being safe. And so the transition now, it just became more difficult with pastoring. But when you already set up the foundation for your ministry, then it's easy to build on top of that.
Yeah.
But isn't it draining though, Bishop, to multitask in such a way where you have to be focused on the ministry and focus on the family? Isn't it just draining just to trying to balance and juggle the two?
If any man must come after me, he must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me.
That's a word right there.
we think like it's just about preaching and doing God's work, but it's much more than that. We're going to carry some burdens while we're doing it, and you become more effective when you have a heavy burden to carry, right? Because now it's not about you, it's about God. And so it's hard. It's hard work. I would never say it's easy. I mean, my wife can tell you about the difficult days and
Like
crying
sharing,
times.
yeah.
I'll never forget the time she talked about when she had the 3 children.
You're right. So he's at Bible college and he's
Teaching Bible college.
So we had our own company, accounted company at
Yes.
one point.
Yeah.
He had his full-time job. He was tutoring for Shiloh, and he had students that were even university students that he was tutoring as well, too, separate from that. And then he had the church, and then the family,
And a full-time job.
and a full-time job.
Stop the madness! Like, seriously.
All going on at the same time.
All at the same time.
Woo!
All at the same time. So this particular night, he was teaching Bible college. I just had Dylan.
Yes.
So Candace was, small baby. Sorry, Candace was about four.
Yeah,
going
and
up
Sharice
there.
was one.
Sharice was one, and Dylan's a newborn. And so he's gone. It's bedtime. Everyone is crying. So Candace is crying because she wants to sleep. Sharice is crying because she wants to sleep, and the baby's crying because the baby's a baby. So what I did was I had Candace on the bed, and I'm patting her back like this, and I had Sharice in my hand, and I'm shaking her like that, and I had Dylan in the car seat, and I'm going like this with my foot, and I'm going on, and this is half an hour, 45 minutes, and everyone was crying. I said, that's it.
And she started.
So I started crying too. I just said, you know what? Enough
Let's
is
all
enough.
cry.
Let's all cry.
Everybody crying.
Everybody's crying. And things that I mean, but I had to make it work because I understood what he was doing. And he's right, I didn't complain. It didn't make any sense because when you're driven by purpose and you know what you're all about, and I know the good man he is, and that he takes care of me, he gives me my time. He understood early enough in the relationship that when I need my time, I will ask for my time. And I'm not saying that in a bad way or a scolding, terrible way, but he understood. There was one time when he was so busy and I wasn't seeing him, and he had all these things to do, and I canceled one of his appointments, and I packed, and I packed a weekend bag.
No!
She did.
And he came home that Friday evening and said, you know what, I kind of canceled your tutoring.
No!
And so forth. I said,
Oh my God.
I just need you.
Yeah.
I just need your attention. If I can just have it. And I didn't know what to expect, how his response would be, but he said to me, you know what? Anytime you need my attention, don't feel afraid to ask for it.
So you wasn't upset?
No.
No.
But I wanna
It was
get
worth
to-
the cancellation. Read between the lines.
My parents, there's something different. But Lady Smith, you talk about Bishop, and you saw the heart and the purpose that was on Bishop's life, and you knew that you had a good husband.
I did.
But at any point in time, because of all he was actively involved in, at any point in time, you resented the ministry, or you not resented him, but resented the call of God on his life?
The call is heavy, and because of his abilities, and his giftings. Like, he can do in probably 10 minutes what somebody else will do in an hour. That's just how he's wired. So because of that, I find that people are always looking to him for answers, solutions, because of his educational skills, his knowledge, and so forth. And then sometimes I wonder if other pastors are being asked as much. That's just my thought. But there are times I'm feeling, okay, for real, not again, or can that person do that for themselves? Or I would say, okay, what did they do before they met him? Didn't they know how to rent a car? Or did they know about their mortgage? Or did they know how to book a ticket? Like, and all of these things goes in my mind, and then I just, okay, mull it over, and then sometimes I get over it. Sometimes I have to say something, but I don't hold it.
Yeah.
I don't hold it.
Bishop, do you believe, because this is the perception that's out there, and I know many preachers, they hold on to this perception. Do you believe that it is the job of the First Lady to solely take care of the household and the children?
No, sir. No. I mean, it takes two to make that child. And it takes two to take care of that child.
Right.
You can't participate in the conception and don't want to participate in the responsibilities that goes after that.
Right.
I think it's a two-person team. And I believe as much, I don't care how many assignments you're having, I don't care where you have to go, you have a responsibility to your wife and to your children. Your children don't want a surrogate father. They want their father, right? I'm not going to allow a surrogate or another man to be there. Unless another man, it can be their uncle or their brother or their godfather. I have to be a father, and I need to be there in the difficult times. I need to be there in the joyful times, in the times of celebration as well as the times of tears and crying. And so I believe it is important to raise them by ourselves, even though we may have some support here and there to help back you. But I've had times, Minister Brown, when I feel guilty, right? Where, you're not there for certain things. Where, I mean, even my oldest daughter, I mean, she was one that every time I leave, I mean,
it's true.
My God, as soon as I jump on that plane, by the time I land, honey, I'm at the hospital. What? And so you have
and
all
you're saying
those
that
guilt.
you felt guilty.
All those guilt. And so I tend to be always trying to make sure I compensate. And when I come back, trying to make sure you do things to compensate for your absence, especially during a difficult or traumatic time.
So, Lady Smith, tell us about your mindset at the time with all of what Bishop had to do in terms of being here for ministry, visiting this hospital, visiting this scene that would have lost, a loved one, with all of what he had to do.
Yes.
What was your mindset? Do you believe that it's the job of the First Lady to hold down the house, to solely take care of the kids and not to bother the bishop because the bishop is taking care of the church?
He made it quite easy because, again, Bishop was very involved and is still very involved in our children's life. So when it came to being at services and being busy, for example, on a Sunday morning when the church just started and the children were small, he would be the one making breakfast and starting the dinner and doing dinner, while I would be bathing, combing hair, dressing the children, and so forth. So we were a team in all that we did. Very often, parent-teacher meetings, we're both there. We will work it around the schedule that we're both there. The very few times that he's not there, and so forth. There was a situation with our middle daughter, Cherise, and it was very traumatic, and he was actually at the airport to take a flight to go somewhere. But I conferenced him in on the meeting on my cell phone. And so while I was just raging mad at this school and the principal, he was on the phone and he was asking, ask them, did they do this? Ask them. Let them hear. But the involvement was always there. So he did not make me feel that it was solely my responsibility to take care of it. There are things that our children will not come to me with. They'll go to their father. And there's some things they won't go to him with. They'll come to me based on what it is. If it's business, money, and so forth, it's that, right? But if it's other things related to personal care, relationship, friendship, they're coming to me. Or sometimes it's both. They'll come in our rooms right now, and they'll be there for hours just talking about life.
And so question, I just want to follow on that one with your Lady Smith.
Yes, sir.
You know, just for a minute, a brief minute, let us just pretend that Bishop is not here. And tell our viewing audience, right through you and Bishop's ministry, have you ever felt neglected or lonely because he wasn't there, or maybe he's traveling the world? Have you ever felt like that?
There are moments when I'm lonely because of his presence is not with me, but not lonely because I know he is with me.
Yeah.
And why I say that is, though he may be traveling, it doesn't matter where he is, I get a call in the morning.
First thing in the morning.
And I can attest to that because I've traveled with Bishop.
Last thing at night.
First thing in the morning, I can attest to that.
Yeah. And before I go to bed, you know, he'll call and check in, how was my day, and we'll talk and, you know, till someone's tired and say, okay, I'll talk with you tomorrow, and so forth. Whether he was in Africa, I got the call.
Oh, yeah.
When we had to use the little calling cards.
Calling cards.
Right? He did that.
Payphones.
When he went to Israel, Egypt, and they had to use the little cards, and the time differences, he made it work that it doesn't matter where he is, we're in touch.
You know, I remember, I don't know if I was in Israel or Africa, but I remember getting up at a certain time,
Yeah.
right, just to get down to the payphone,
Right.
right, to use my card or to call her because I know she's just about to go to bed, right? So, I mean, you have to do whatever you have to do to make your marriage work. And, you know, I do a lot of marriage counseling as well, and I realize that, you know, some of the reasons why some of these marriages are failing for ministers is because we're not putting in the work. We want things to come easy. My wife, when the children were small and I'm pastoring, I had to get up like 4 or 5 o'clock to start the breakfast and the dinner to make sure it's done, the rice and peas, and we want to still make sure we have our rice and
But
peas.
that's a
And
lot for a bishop to do.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I still had to pack all the equipment in my car
Right.
because when we were in the community center, it was stored in my garage.
Right.
So I had to pack the drum set and everything in my
Right.
car, drive to church so we could set it up. Sometimes I had to leave, go pick up back people
And come back.
to church. But you
Yeah.
have to schedule yourself
Yeah.
because it's the work of the Lord. It's not about me. It's about what I'm doing for the kingdom of God, Mr. But it's not easy. You know, but a lot of time ministers just want the easy route. But if you want to be successful, it's not easy. And you know, people look at Kingdom Life and say, oh, you know, Bishop have a large church and you know a lot of people. It didn't come by just showing up with a Bible and preaching on a Sunday morning. There's a whole lot of work that goes into the background, and a lot of it has to do with your family. Because if my family falls apart, my ministry is going to fall apart.
But Bishop, we just asked Lady Smith about feeling neglected and lonely. On the flip side though, traveling to so many countries for ministry, I know personally you have been to Africa, you have been to Europe, you have been to Israel, all the places that you have been. Would there have been any time at all that you just sat by yourself and you said, this is just too much? I feel lonely. I need my wife here. I miss my wife.
Oh yes. There's a lot of times when I tell her, and I'm actually happy that now, I mean, our children are adults and she can travel with me a lot more, right? And so that's amazing. Even going out when people call you, one of the times when somebody died suddenly and they called me, she was able to come with me this time. In the past, she couldn't come. She'd have to be at home. But I'll be traveling and I'd get up to have breakfast and I'm sitting by the table by myself and I'll call her and say, you know, this ain't right. I don't like to eat by myself. But there are times when I just miss her. I miss her presence. But the assignment is always bigger than my personal needs. And so I always look at what I'm doing and realize it's not about me, it's about the kingdom of God. There are times when I remember I miss big events, and you cannot get it back. I always remember this one because they talk about it, and it's something that I wasn't there for. The big blackout of 1 year, right, when everything was in chaos, right? But I was out of the country. I was in light, and I'm in electric light, everything, and they're in a time of darkness, and you know, with the three children. So you miss those things, and you wish you were there. You almost want to jump on a flight and head back, you know. But I also know that it's in the flip side that I've been on ministry assignment when she wishes she was there.
Yes.
I can remember specifically being very, very sick on a ministry assignment, and she wasn't there. I was actually contemplating taking a air ambulance to come back home because I was so sick, and I was still ministering through it.
Yeah.
Dylan was the one that I had with me, and Dylan took care of me. Like, that was when I realized that my boy is good. You see him quiet, but he took care of me on that trip along with the other people that were there. And I preached through sickness, right? Preach through sickness. I mean, I do it, and then I go back to my room, and I'm just falling apart. And I'll be talking to her on the phone, and she realized that I'm barely making it. And I know she wanted to be there. So just as much as I'm sometimes away, want to be with her, she also has a feeling when, no, I'm on ministry assignment and I need her, and she's not there for me.
Yeah. So Bishop, have there ever been a case where you went and you talk about the blackout and how it affected you? Would there have been a case where you return and you have to be apologizing maybe to the kids or to your wife? I'm so sorry I wasn't there, and oh my God, they're upset with you or because you weren't there. Have there ever been a case like that?
I mean, I don't remember anyone being upset with me like that. I mean, it's more things like I wish I was here, that kind of stuff. And, but I'm always, wherever I am, always trying to bring back something for them as well, as much as I can. So it's always an excitement when they were smaller.
Yes.
I mean, to see Daddy, right? Because, not only is Daddy coming home, but usually I'm coming back with something for them.
Yes.
And even for my wife, there was one point where I shopped for her. Don't do it anymore. But there was one point, and she was so busy with the kids, she never went to stores and all those stuff. So I mean, all her clothes and the shoes, and I was buying that. I send a picture or something like that. And so there's always time coming back. So I never, and I think the love that you have for your family don't bring you into that place of you feeling like they're mad with you. I've never really experienced them being mad at me, so I feel like I should not go.
But
Can I just say something?
Yes.
But now as they're older, and if there are instances of, say, some sort of disappointment, they will verbalize it now when we have conversations and things like that. But it's never like, oh, Dad, you were the worst. Or no, it has never been like that. Because again, he's very, very, very conscious about children. I guess being a pastor's child as well too makes your thought process a bit different. You're conscious about absolutely everything, about who's around our children, who do we leave them with, who do we trust them with, and so forth. So, but he's amazing father.
Mr. Brown, one of the things that we did is that, not only did I go away, but every year we always made sure we had family vacation for the kids.
Right.
In the midst of your busy schedule.
Oh yes, Disney cruises, number of them, all those things. We always make sure we take them away.
Weekends always.
With the family. There was one weekend we always go to Buffalo that particular weekend. Right? And there's a favorite breakfast restaurant they always love. There's this other restaurant they have, like, Smoky Bones, and the kids were there in the car. They want some smoky. They made up their own song about it. So it was always important to me that the children felt that they're loved, because church can take you away from your family. And even as hard as I tried, I was listening to one of Sharice's podcasts, and there are things I'm learning on that podcast that I didn't realize was happening, where sometimes they did feel like the church folks were taking me away from them, right? So, and sometimes they don't share it, but I tried my best. But even with that, they get shortchanged sometimes, and they miss out on things that they wouldn't have missed out on if I wasn't who I am.
And to that point, Life with Sharice, that podcast, go and check it out, guys. It's an interesting discussion about, life as a preacher's kid, where some of these very same issues that we're discussing now would have been addressed from that perspective, being a preacher's kid. Lady Smith, yes, tell us now. Tell us now, with all that you have gone through in ministry, can you say that you would have left a lasting effect, almost like a scar on maybe parts of your family life or something where maybe something that Bishop did, he had to travel here, or something. Can you say that it left a lasting scar or impact on your family life?
One thing I've learned from my husband, and we learned this, I learned it, because he learned it too, very early in our marriage, is agree to disagree. That's one thing he said, and I try to live by that, because sometimes our perspectives are different. And I had to realize quite early that he shepherds all the saints. And then I also have to remember that I'm a shepherd too. I'm a sheep as well, right? So he's got the dual purpose that he deals with me as his wife, but also as a sheep. So sometimes my approach on things, I have to consider, okay, how is this? How am I going to approach this? Am I a member of the congregation right now? Am I a sheep? Or am I his wife? Like, how am I going to deal with that? Because sometimes there are things that sheep on a whole are okay with, but wife's not okay with it. And so forth. So how do you balance it, and how do you get that message across that, okay, the rest of the sheep are buying and they're okay and they're bye, black sheep, but this sheep is not necessarily comfortable with it because this is wife. So I've had to navigate that and understand it and speak with my husband and sometimes pray about things to understand that the sheep's the shepherd's mind is different than mine. So they're those tug and war sometimes, but everything that you do, you have to do it in grace.
Lady Smith, she has that about her, where she knows when to be first lady, she knows when to be, a sheep, and all of that. But Bishop, how do you differentiate times where you're a husband, you're a pastor? Like, for example, what Lady Smith was saying, in a conversation, maybe it's time to be Bishop Smith, Pastor Smith, or in a conversation, it's time to be, honey. How do you, differentiate? How do you know that this time calls for this role?
So, one of the hardest thing to do is to be bishop at home. It's easy to be bishop here. So, for example, if I was on church premises, and my wife comes to me about anything, it's easy to be bishop when I am at church. I'm in my office here, I'm on church premises.
Bishop Smith.
Bishop Smith, Pastor Smith. It's another thing when I'm in her territory. How do I be bishop in the bedroom? Right? In her kitchen. Because the wife owns the whole house. We borrow some of the space. It's her bedroom, her bathroom, her closet, her kitchen, her domain. How do I be a bishop? And so what you have to do basically is try your very best to be husband at home at all the times. And then when she's at work, I'm at work, then certain tough discussions, you may have to not deal with it. She mentioned agree to disagree. So we have learned how we don't have to discuss everything tonight. I don't have to see her point of view. She doesn't have to see my point of view right now. Because my point of view may be a bishop's point of view right now, and hers is a wife's point of view. And we're at home. And it's not going to solve itself. Right. And so we agree to disagree. And sometimes, just by allowing the night to pass, you start to see it in a different light and a different perspective. But doesn't mean I made mistakes. Yes, sometimes you act like bishop when you're not supposed to act like bishop. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to the transcenders that every argument or every disagreement or every time an issue comes up, I know which role to pick. Right. Every time you pick the wrong role, you mess up. Yep. But one thing I've learned, I've learned how to apologize to my wife. I've learned how to say I'm sorry. I've learned how to play the humble card. I've learned how to go in sackcloth and ashes and beg for forgiveness. And she knows how to reach me as well. Because sometimes I'm tough, really. I'm tough even though I'm soft. I can be very tough at times. But she knows how to reach me even when it seems I'm unreachable. And I'll never forget, there are times when she'll do what she needs to do to get my attention. And she has gotten it.
But Bishop, have there ever been a case where you're out with Lady Smith, maybe on a vacation, a tropical island somewhere?
Yes.
Or maybe it's a date night. And somebody, one of your congregants, maybe they lost a loved one or somebody died, and you have to deal with that situation right away. And maybe you're in the midst of looking Lady Smith in the eye and say, roses are red, violets are blue, and your phone ring. How do you deal with a situation like that where immediately you have to come out of that zone into something else? And how do you communicate that to her without her feeling like, another dinner again disrupted? How is that?
Because I think we're so in sync, and there's such a oneness about us that if it affects me, it affects her. So it's like every member of our church if they call me about something terrible, she's gonna feel it just as hard as I feel it. And so it's not just disrupting the vacation, it disrupts us. And we've had it on vacation. Actually, I specifically remember, not very long ago, about a year ago, when my brother died while I was on vacation.
Oh, wow.
And I remember that I got the phone call, and I was sitting on the couch, I think, just relaxing, and my wife was there, and she could recognize by the tone of my voice that something is wrong. I mean, I'm choking up now, but anyways, but she just moved right into my space, and it was just both of us dealing with that. And so usually if somebody calls, it's a death or some tragic, I'm putting her into the conversation. I may put her on speaker so she can actually hear what I'm hearing. And she comes right into the space. And so what happened is that it's no longer a situation where she feels that, oh, my date is that our attention has been drawn to something much more important than this date, because we know that there's going to be another day.
Right.
We know there's going to be another vacation, and so we do not really worry so much about the disruption. Somebody's need is much more important than our enjoyment for this particular moment, and so that's how we really deal with it.
And because we plan to stay together and we do these things, there will be another date.
Yeah.
That's right.
There will be another moment. Right now, that's what we need to deal with.
Lady Smith, I know, we as the sheep, we can be very stubborn at times, very hard-headed at times, and even to the point where we're not even sensitive that, Bishop and Lady Smith, they need their, alone time. We as congregants, we still take up the phone and call even when it's your anniversary.
Yeah.
Does it ever get easy?
No.
Because you have to live with it, because people will always be people.
Right.
But
yeah,
it ever get easy for you?
I sometimes I wish they would be sensitive. Like, not everything I believe that people have to call Bishop for, period, and not every time you have to call Bishop if he's away as well too. If it's known that he's away,
Guilty.
then you appreciate, because then again, when you consider how many appointments and engagements and travel and work, he's at work, I'm at work, and so forth for the whole time, and then you get just a window of time where it's just really relaxation and so forth, and then you're just like, oh gee, you may not say too much, I may roll my eyes to myself, but sometimes you just want that undivided attention where people realize, okay, he's having some time with his wife, let him enjoy that, or with the children and so forth. So,
Mr. Brown, I'm going to say, there are people that recognize that, but some people don't have any boundaries. They don't have any, and I even pastoring, I'll experience people who says, they shouldn't bother you for that. But when they need me, like, okay, give you an example. Somebody says, oh, Bishop, you shouldn't have to go pray, bless nobody's house. You have enough ministers and elders, but you have to come and bless mine.
Yeah.
So it defeats the whole purpose.
Everybody wants the bishop.
You get what I'm saying? And that's the difficult part. And so they will see that I can't do everybody's, but they figure that they're special. They're going to do this. And everybody feels that.
But how do you communicate that though, so that people understand? How do you, get that message across that, hey guys, I love you, I'm here to serve you, but I can't be everywhere at once?
It's a tough thing. And I specifically remember this one, honey, where I was away and somebody was, very sick. And I knew. But where I was, I couldn't call. So my wife called, and she was there 100%. And I remember after I came back, when I was able to, I called. They said, finally, Pastor, finally. I said, but I'm my wife. But it's not the same, so it's not the same.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sitting there thinking, come on, be reasonable.
Yeah.
I was not in country. And my wife did, and sometimes she's even more empathizing than I am anyways, right? But it's just to know that they can say, and sometimes it's not even what I said, but they're telling them, oh, my pastor called, my bishop. Sometimes it's just that thing that people want to know that
that personal
touch. And so it's hard, it's really, just to answer your question, it's really hard. You just have to try to educate people, but it's hard.
And it's also hard to set certain expectations, because if you do certain things at a level of expectation, then everyone is expecting the same thing, unfortunately. And it becomes very, very difficult. So sometimes, even if you would want to do above and beyond, you have to consider the cost of going above and beyond, because Tom's sister, Tom's brother, everyone is going to be expecting the same. And it may not be something that is reasonable to maintain. So you have to consider.
And I remember when we had 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 people, because Kingdom Life wasn't always what it is. We started with 7 people. I remember when we had those numbers, people could just, pick up the phone, have meetings with me. Even coming to our house, because there wasn't a whole lot of people. But I can't have an open door policy now to this whole church. Anybody show up when they want to show up. The thing is, I remember when I started to use my secretary, say you have to book an appointment. I had people upset with Minister Brown. I'm not booking no appointment to see my pastor. Like, you need to, if you really want to see me. Because if Sister Marcia was to tell you how tough it is with my calendar, right? Because the problem we have is that I have more availability in the day, but most people want you after their work or in the evenings. And you can only fit in certain amount on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday evening. I still leave evenings where, for me,
does it ever get easy? Lying in your bed, 2 o'clock in the morning, just, maybe you would have just, you just come off your knees, you're praying, and it's just time to get some rest because you're getting up early in the morning. Bam, 2 o'clock in the morning, your phone ring. You have to go to the hospital. Does that ever get easy? Like, have you ever just lie down in the bed and said, no more, God, no more? Like, seriously.
I don't know if I've ever done that particularly about a particular call. There are times when honestly, I got more frustrated about the building itself, like when we're trying to purchase this building and all that went with it, rather than the needs of people. I can specifically remember even when Fiona died, and I had to just run, and I was there for hours and hours and hours.
Right.
I remember 3 o'clock one morning, got a kind of phone call, and I ran to this house with this young man was eating a cat. And he had a cat in his mouth, right? And, it was just, there's some situations you have to deal with. But when the call comes, the need is more important than sleep at that time, and nothing can keep you in your bed. I remember I got another call where a young man was shot, right? And, and I had to run, But Mr. Brown, I believe when God made pastors after his own heart.
Right.
Yeah.
And when God gives you the heart of a shepherd, it's like the heart of a mother. Right. When you become a mother, people who are not mothers don't understand what mothers go through.
Right.
Because the moment you become a mother, it's just something different about you and the cry of that child. A mother don't hear their baby crying pain. But even after we are finished, put them to bed, you're like, I'm so tired.
But you're still listening. You're still listening.
You're still listening for that call. It's the same thing. The church, people they're my children, they're our children. And so when they cry out in need, we're gonna respond. Right? Even when you're tired.
But Bishop, my father, for young preachers that are watching this program and having difficulty balancing their family life and their ministry, how can young preachers take proper steps to prioritize their family life and ensure their spouses and family are not neglected? What steps can young preachers take?
Okay, that's a very loaded and a very big question, right? And the first thing you have to understand, young preachers must understand, that your assignment and your call of God is more than a one message or two message. And therefore, your ministry is not just to a crowd out there, but ministry is also to your family, to your home. And if you're not a good minister at home, you're never going to be a good and effective minister to people out there. So the first thing you want to do is make sure your marriage is solid. You got to make sure, if you're a male, you love your wife with all your heart. If you're a female, you love your husband with all your heart, especially if you have one. Right? If you have your children, you got to make sure that you love your children, you care for them, you make sure that they are loved. One thing I admire about you, though, Minister Brown, is the few times you travel, I hear you talk to your kids and you empower them and you say certain things to them and you shower them with love. That's what young ministers need to do. Shower their children, their wife with love, and let them know that, I'm there for you. Because we spend so much time preparing a sermon to impress a crowd. And how much time do we spend preparing ourselves to impress our wives, our children, our husbands, to make sure that as much as you want that crowd to be excited about your message, I want my wife to be excited about her husband. I want my children to be excited about their father. So the steps you have to take is to do whatever it takes. And those that preacher's offering that you get, instead of using it to buy new Jordans, bring it and say, honey.
Oh my God, I hope it's not this.
Say, honey, this is for you. Hand her the check. Hand her the envelope, right? And say, do whatever you want to do with it. So it's not so much about you, but about, but realize that my family is important, my wife is important, my children. So young ministers, if you're listening to me, don't get so excited about preaching and not excited about making sure your family life is stable, your personal life is stable as well. Because that's how preachers get in trouble when they're not solidifying the relationship at home.
So as Bishop was talking about having that marriage that's concrete, I just thought about preachers, and oftentimes it looks like you're living in a glass house, right? So when people look at the glass ceiling, they want to reach those ceilings. But if you're living in a glass house, it's best to have a concrete foundation. Relationships have to be concrete because everyone's looking at you for that type of relationship where the wife's being loved, the children are being loved and being cared for and supported, not just money poured in, because some people just give money but they don't give their time, they don't give words of encouragement. So it's great when pastors, preachers and so forth are speaking life to their spouse, their wives, and speaking life to their children. Let it be known that this is my family.
That even to just piggyback on that point, Lady Smith, that I've come to realize that people on a whole respect a bishop that loves his family and that puts his family first. They respect them a whole lot more than a bishop that, it's almost as if he's there and his family is over there. And it's something that I can even attest to seeing Bishop. Every time Bishop takes the mic, he greets you and he gives that respect, he shows that respect publicly. Because if the bishop don't respect his wife, then other people won't. But Lady Smith, I want to get to this question. How can the church congregation, because we have spoken about the church congregation, how can the church congregation better support the wives of preachers and ministers? What resources or support system are available to help them deal with the challenges of being married to a minister?
That's a loaded question. But what the church can do as a resource for us, be kind.
As simple as that.
Simple as that. Just be nice, be kind, be considerate. All of those things will be helpful, because already if enough people are nice, and in the world there's a percentage that are not going to be naturally nice, but enough are, it helps to carry you through. Considerate to our children as well too. And I've heard our children talk about sometimes other people want to parent them. We're their parents in terms of their biological parents. We're going to make decisions for them and so forth. So be nice to our children as well too. If you're nice to us and to our children, it helps our husbands with their ministry, because then I wouldn't have to say, honey, so and so, and this person's really upset me, and then he has to hear that. No, but if you can just be considerate, be nice to the family, then that would be great. Resources for ministry wives. Stay in touch with each other. I have a WhatsApp group for the ministers' wives in my church, and we support each other. I send scriptures every now and again, and even for the pastors' wives for the CDC, I'm in touch with them as well to send scriptures and support to them, one to another. There's an open door policy for me that they can come and talk to me about anything, and respectfully I will share my experience and just support them in whatever way I can possibly do. We plan to go back out again this summer. We're going to go out and have some nice little food, minus you guys, but we're going to do our own little thing. But just being there for each other, talking to each other, and be real and transparent. If I'm having a particular issue, and again with boundaries, because we know how far we can go with what we're sharing, but share things and say, okay, well, I've had a similar situation, but each person's situation is not exactly the same, but there's similarities where we can empower each other.
And just before we go to Bishop for the final question to take us out, Lady Smith, let me just invite you now to just look straight in that camera. And for maybe a minister's wife that she's basically at the brink of losing her mind, losing her marriage because she just cannot deal with this thing. Say something to her.
Hold on. You gotta hold on. Find people who appreciate you, not those that tolerate you. Find someone who's your equal, that understands your ministry, your purpose, that's going to support you, push you, lift you, and they're going to carry you. Not everyone understands the call, so you have to connect with people who understand the call, and not just the call, but how that call can be fulfilled. Find that person. It may not be in your church, it may be somewhere else, and sometimes it's best to find people that are not even in your circle, so that if you share things, they don't have to be questioning who that person, who that is, and so forth. But hold on and find that support system.
And finally, Bishop.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the strategies for maintaining a healthy work-life balance in the context of ministry?
All right. So, for me, I never had one job while I was preaching or teaching. My wife mentioned them. I was doing a whole lot of things. And the important thing is, every David needs a Jonathan, right? You have to
Every David needs a Jonathan.
need a Jonathan.
That's a word right there.
You need to have your Jonathan. I have my Jonathan, right? You need to have your Jonathan. That person who's going to be there for you in your times when you're just tired, you're weak. You need someone to just pray for you, encourage you, strengthen you. Because the balance is very delicate, right? And you cannot just focus on ministry and ignore your home life, your finance, or your regular job. You have to do it both at the same time. Some people figure that because the God called me to preach, yes, I had to quit my secular job, and where God guides, He provides, and God is going to send money from the east and the west. But for most of my ministry, I'm working a full-time job and plus, right? Because God is able to help you to do that job and still take care of His work. The balance comes in by you being able to first recognize that you are not superhuman. You cannot do everything for the church, and you can't do everything for the work. You can't work 24 hours a day and still do ministry the way you want to do it. You have to have that balance. And there are times when you may do more work and less church, and there are times when you do more church and less work. You have to just look at your assignments. There are times you have to say no. For example, as a young preacher, I'm going to be Jamaican right now. I used to hear my mother say, not every cat I take knock you have the answer. What she's basically saying, not every call you get, you have to say yes. Yeah. There are times you have to say no. You know how many times I say no to preach an assignment? You and I laugh all the time because you think, you think that this is a big assignment. You can't say no. It has nothing to do with the size of the assignment. Because sometimes that assignment could create a ripple effect. And you have to listen to God and what God is saying. And if God says, don't do it, don't listen to the voices that are saying, oh, you have to do it, you have to do it. You have to listen to God. And so that's how you create the balance. You got to be prayed up, fasted up, read your word, trust your anointing, trust your relationship with God more than you trust your relationship with other people. And rely on your Jonathan.
Wow. Bishop, Lady Smith, thank you so much. This has been such a fruitful conversation. And I invite you, if you're going through these struggles, maybe mental health struggles, emotional struggle, and you just need to reach out to somebody, I invite you to take advantage of our church website, klife.ca. And also, if you're in need of, just a place of worship, a place to call your home, you visit us at 1166 Cardiff Boulevard, right here in Mississauga, Kingdom Life. There's a word waiting for you, and there is healing in store for you. Bishop, Lady Smith, thank you, my parents, for supporting your son and supporting what we're doing. Yeah, so join us next time for another interesting topic here on the Thinking Christian Talk Show, Transcend, Unlocking Truth, Transcending Lives. Remember, go right ahead, right now. If you like what you have heard, click. Thank you, our viewing audience, Transcenders. Thank you. Remember, like, share, and subscribe.